What is up, game makers? My name is Mike. This is a Makecode arcade tutorial, and I'm going to be walking you through the very basics of character design in Makecode. So, let's jump right in. I'm on arcade.makecode.com. I'm just going to click on New Project on this one. We're not working from a pre-made tutorial or anything. We're just going to dive right in. We'll call this Air Act for Alright, let that load up. Before that loads up, I'm going to walk you through a couple of basics thinking about character design. So if you've never done pixel art or character design, I think a great place to start is just looking up pixel art character tutorial, and then checking through some images on that. That's going to give you kind of a good idea of what other people are doing. Lots of people are into pixel art right now, so there's a lot of really cool stuff floating around the internet, and a Google image search is always a good way to get started with that. Another thing you could look up is 8-bit character or sprite. And that's going to give you a bunch, and in there is a couple that I really like. So you got Pokemon, Mario, Zelda, RPG, Final Fantasy up here at the top, but you can also just scroll down and look through whatever you want to make. So again, this is kind of a good way to get started thinking about what your character might look like. Here's one from that Undertale game that's so popular with the youths. Yeah, that's a good place to get started. Another thing, if you have an idea of what kind of character you want to make, say you want to make a wolfman, just look up pictures of a wolfman, see what a wolfman looks like, and start thinking about what you might design your character like. Alright, so once you kind of have an idea of what your character might look like, pop into a new project on Makecode. And if you've never been on Makecode before, just real quickly, over on the right side here, this is where all your code is going to get strung together. In the middle, this is where all your blocks of code can come from. And then on the left here, this is an emulator. So this will run your game and you can play it and test it as you're building it. To get started making a character, we're going to go into sprites. Sprite is anything in the game that you can interact with, I think. So like a character or an enemy or something you shoot, like a bullet or a projectile, missile, things that you can pick up, health, items, stuff like that. Anything you can interact with in a game, we're going to call a sprite. So you're going to grab set my sprite, this first red block of code, and you're going to plop it right into on start. And then the first thing you should do is rename the sprite. If you don't have a name for your sprite yet, you could do something simple like character. If you do have something cool like Tommy, you can put Tommy in there. Alright, so I know my guy's going to be named Tommy now. Next thing, the reason you do that is the more sprites you create, the more you're going to want to be able to keep track of them, and names are going to do that. So instead of having my sprite 2, my sprite 3, you have names that keep track of them, like character or enemy or missile, something like that. Next thing you're going to do, you're going to click into this gray square, and that is going to pull up your editor. So this is your canvas. This is where you're going to be doing all your artwork. On the left here, you've got all your drawing tools. So you've got a pencil, which you can click and drag around to make lines. You've got an eraser, which you can click and drag around to erase your lines. You've got a rectangle tool, which you can click and drag to create a rectangle. Fill or paint bucket. Anytime you make an enclosed area, you can select a color and then click inside that enclosed area, and it will drop a big block of color in. Circle works the same way as the rectangle. Line, pretty straightforward as well. Click, drag, got yourself a nice line going on. The marquee tool is a tool that you use to select an area and move it. So say you know, I was drawing over here, but I really want this little block over here for some reason. Click and drag this little dotted square around it, and then click inside and move it. You can plop it wherever you want. Next to that is the hand tool. This will move your canvas around. This is not super useful until you start doing really large scale artwork. So say you're doing a background or something like that, and you move from one side of the background to the other. That's how you do this. If you're making characters and you're working small, I would just leave that alone. Below all the tools are all your colors. These are the preset colors. This is kind of what you're stuck with. There's ways to work around that, and I'm going to touch on those in later tutorials. But for now, I would say get used to using these. Below that is the size of your canvas. So right now it's 16 pixels by 16 pixels square. If you want to change that, you just click in it and change the number. You can make it bigger or smaller. Following along the bottom, you've got undo. So this back arrow, you click that, that will undo whatever you did. Redo, zoom out, zoom in, and then when you're finished, you can click done. Also, all of the normal shortcut keys that you would use in any other software or most other softwares work. So Command C, copy, Command V, paste, Command Z, undo, Command X is cut or something like that. Anyway, cool. So I'm going to link in this video a tutorial by some dude on the interwebs. I really like his process for coming up with characters. I don't like his jokes. They're pretty bad. He does have a cute dog, so that's a nice little surprise in there. I think there's also one light swear in the video, so be but the way he starts his projects, I kind of like, so I am going to start it the same way he did. Thinking about your character in terms of shape and then color. So those are the two important, I would say, principal things to think about when you're designing your character. So you want it to stand out as a shape, so its silhouette should be identifiable. If you think about like Mario's silhouette, you could probably think of it, he's got the hat and the nose, or Sonic. Yeah, there are other characters as well. So first you're going to drop in your silhouette, and then you're going to add color to it. Again, this is just one way to do it. I like it, but it's certainly not the only way to do it. Get started, I'm just going to select and delete. But you know what? I'll just undo until I have a blank screen. Alright, so we're going to start in one color. I'm going to kind of draw out, I'm going to say I'm going to make a side-scrolling game, so I need a profile of the character. So we're going to be looking to the right. Which was right, looking at me. On my screen, looking at me. So we got a little head. What kind of character? So this is kind of how I work. I just start drawing in shapes, and then later I really start thinking about what the character is. That may not work for everyone. I like it. Fill tool to drop in some big color. So now this character's kind of got like a head, and then some little tootsies. He's got one leg down here. Drop in another leg. It's kind of top heavy. I'm gonna give him some big arms that come out like this. Cool. Alright, I'm kind of thinking in here now this kind of looks like a skull, so I'm going to make a little scalp character. I'm going to drop in white. That's enough for yep. And then I want the bone to be black. I'm going to drop the little white lines. The arms, the ribs and stuff. So here's the mouth coming down. Try not to take too long on this, because this is not really probably what you came here to see, is me just doing art. Give a rib cage. Kind of like that. Alright, give him some eyeballs. for me. All right, so I feel like I'm done. There's probably a lot more I could do to make this cooler looking and more complex, but I think it's good enough. So I'm gonna click done. And then you'll see it's going to, now that I have a character design, it's going to plop him right into my game. Eventually, my computer runs a little slow. There he is. All right, so that's the basics. I designed a character with some black in it, so this is the thing to be thoughtful of. I have a black background right now. So I have black in my character, which means that he's just getting kind of lost in the background. Something I could do to kind of punch him out or bring him out from the background is add maybe some purple or something like that instead of black, something that's dark, but not the same color as the background. So that's something to be thoughtful of. You want your character to stand out from the background, that's where you can use color. And the shape and color. Good place to start. Cool.